my church did some stuff for kids, and we had a poster on the wall, and we ate rice as we prayed for China. And I went home that day and I hated rice. I hated it. But I went home and told my mom we had to make rice. And so she made rice and I ate it very sadly, and I prayed for China. And the next day I asked for rice again, and she was like, why do you want rice so bad? Like, why are you forcing yourself to eat rice? And I just said, I want to keep praying for China, because the way that my teacher taught it, I thought that rice meant the rice. And my mom kind of said, like, you can pray for China without the rice. And that was the best thing ever, because I didn't want to eat the rice, and I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to live in China, but I knew that I wanted to pray for the other countries. And then I grew up, still hated rice, never wanted to live in a country that had rice. But I did want to live in the unreached. And so I had been praying for like more Central Asia, near the Middle East type thing, and just saying, I'm going there, I'm going there. I have friends there, I have family there, I want to go there. And then along the way, every person that I met that was international, that I connected with well, was Buddhist. And so then I looked up what's a Buddhist place, and it was Thailand. And I didn't want to go to Thailand, but my church was taking a trip there. And so I took a trip, and on that trip, the main focus of the trip was, should I live in Thailand, the place full of rice that I don't want to live in? Also the place that's full of missionaries, that I want to live in, a place that doesn't have a lot of missionaries. And so I kept telling God no to Thailand. But along the way, there was one specific day I had my quiet time, and I had made a very strange commitment that I haven't ever done since then. But I realized that God made my full body, and I wanted to worship God with my full body. And so that day, the way that I interpreted that was, God made my five senses. I want to worship him with all five senses. I want to see God, smell God, taste God, touch God, and hear God. And so I said, I want to worship you with everything that you made me. And so we went out that day, and we went to a particular part of town that's a pretty big spiritual center for Bangkok and really for the country. And it's a big intersection, so there's lots of traffic right downtown. But right there's a Hindu god, a shrine for a Hindu god that Buddhists go to, and it's the god of creation. And so when the Buddhists were searching for the god of creation, they went to this particular shrine. And there's dancers that you hear. There's the glitteriness of the whole shrine. They had incense that was going into the air. They had candles that had smoke going into the air. They had the music. You could hear the cymbals and the drums. And I was standing there, and every single one of my senses wasn't able to worship God. I couldn't with my eyes or my ears or my nose. And I was mad. I was so bitter. And I didn't want to stand in that center part of town. I didn't want to be in a town where the very central spot didn't worship God. And so I spent the rest of the day angry and didn't want to be part of the entire trip. We were prayer walking the whole city, and I was mad. That night I was kind of debriefing, and God really broke my heart and was like, that wasn't an arrogant thing. I still want to worship God with all five of my senses, but it's okay if I have to work to worship God with my eyes and my ears and my nose. And the anger that I had of having their incense fill my lungs when I didn't want it. Their worship was in my body at that time, and I didn't like make an agreement to have that happen. But God said, because their worship is entering your lungs, because their worship is doing these things, like, I'm not being worshiped here. That's why I want you here. And so from that day forward, because of going to that shrine and having that moment with God, I said yes to Thailand. And now I'm here. And since living here, that place is where I go to remember why I come to Thailand, because I've never been there when it's empty. I've been there when there's low crowds, but usually there's 20 to 50. I mean, I've seen just tons of people. They come off of buses, and they come and they bring elephants and offerings and spend so much money. And but a personal prayer request, a really sweet thing that God did is, I really had a hard time with the incense going in my lungs, with their worship being in my body. And so God's personal prayer request, and just sweet thing that he did for me was, a few years ago, it became illegal to light the incense there because of pollution issues. And so now, when you go to that shrine, you buy the incense, and they get it and they shake it to get the incense into the air. And they shake the incense, but it's not lit. It's illegal to light the incense. In other places of the city, they still light it, and that's fine. But in that one place, it's illegal. And so there's no lit candles and no lit incense. And for me, that's just a personal thing of God saying, like, I hear you, I'm with you. Like, you're still in a place where all five senses have to work to honor me and to worship me, but like, I'm with you in this. And so, yeah, now I'm in Thailand, a place where they eat rice every day. And I eat rice every day too, and I like it now. But yeah, God's been really sweet along the way.